boycott yesterday's IPAC meeting and also the EC's decision to proceed with the compilation of the new voters card. But once again, keep your messages coming. We'll make a time and read all those out for you. I'll take you through the fallout from yesterday's IPAC meeting. But I've been joined in the studio by the Director of Elections for the National Democratic Congress in person of Honorable Elvis Afriyie Ankrah. Sir, welcome.
Thank you very much.
Well, this is your maiden edition on this show. Of course, your first time on Pan-African television. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you, and thanks for the opportunity.
All right.
I can feel the Pan-African spirit here.
Very true. All right, then let me take our viewers through the fallout from the EC's meeting with the political parties yesterday. All political parties were there except the National Democratic Congress and the PNC. I think PNC, one of its representatives, were there. Unfortunately, he walked out later, but when asked by the media, he said that he was going there to find out from the EC if they had received a letter from the PNC. But the response that was given to him, of course, did not allow him to, of course, even stay in the meeting. But yesterday, the Electoral Commission discussed the registration exercise. The Commission announced that the exercise will begin from last week in June to last week in, of course, July. Let's take note. Also, they discussed mop-up. They said at the end of the main registration exercise, the Commission will use 3 days for a mopping up exercise. The mopping up exercise is meant for eligible applicants who could not be captured during the main registration exercise. They talked about piloting after the registration. Also, they talked about measures put in place to make sure that in the course of registration, they stop the spread of COVID-19. And they also talked about proof of eligibility and security. But I have Mr. Elvis Afriyie Ankrah with me in the studio. I'll ask him, sir, take us through why the National Democratic Congress yesterday boycotted the IPAC meeting that was called by the Electoral Commission.
Okay, so if you recall, a couple of months ago, the EC sent us a letter. That is when the lockdown started. And in that letter, they stated that they were inviting us for an IPAC meeting and that we should bring one representative each from each political party.
Very well.
And that the meeting was going to be held in 2 tracks. So one group will meet and another group will meet.
Okay.
And we wrote back to them and said, first of all, IPAC is not a creation of the EC. IPAC is a creation of the political parties and the EC.
Okay.
And we had met and agreed that at each IPAC meeting, because most often the issues have technical implications, legal implications, we go with a technical person, a legal person, and a political person.
Okay.
So it's a convention that we take 3 persons per political party. And so if you say we should bring 1 person for such a crucial matter, we don't think that it will be appropriate. Secondly, we also said there's a lockdown, and the president has stated clearly that it's only private funerals that you have 25 people. So if the EC considers itself as one of the essential services, then they should write to the president to give them a leeway so that they can hold their regular meetings. Or we propose that because the issues to be discussed were so essential, and because it would be absurd that you have 16 people or a group of people going to meet, you don't know the issues that were raised by one group, how then do you arrive at a consensus? Because the whole spirit behind IPAC is to deliberate on issues and arrive at a consensus. So they could find a bigger hall, and then we observe social distancing, and then we can have a meaningful meeting. To date, we haven't received a response from them. So it shows the contempt and disdain that the EC has for some of the opposition parties, especially the NDC. So subsequently, they wrote to us. And when the letter came, the first letter was dated 2010, the year 2010. So we drew their attention, and then they brought the second letter, and in that letter, they said 10 p.m. So we realized that the EC had a problem. because if a basic administrative matter, such as addressing letters, time and dates, you can't get it wrong, then it tells you the kind of pressure they are putting themselves under, and it's a manifestation of the kind of challenges that they've been going through and which we envisage is going to get worse. So that is the background to that story. But essentially, if you look at the release that came after the meeting, it shows that indeed there was no point in us attending a meeting because it was not an IPAC meeting. It was an informative meeting because their own report says that they went and informed the parties about decisions that they, the EC, had taken. That is not what IPAC does. IPAC deliberates, we judge, we come, we look at things from various perspectives, and we arrive at a consensus. But in this case, the EC takes a decision, and this has been the attitude of the current Jane Mensah Bosman Asari-led CEC.
So I'll take you back briefly. A traditional IPAC meeting, how does it look like?
Okay, so
I mean, in recent times, the NDC has been, of course, complaining about the posture of the Electoral Commission. Previously, how is this IPAC meetings different from the previous IPAC meetings the NDC was part of?
Okay, so I think for us to understand IPAC, let's do a little bit of history. Okay. And I'll link it to the register issue so people will be able to understand. So, you know that we had our first election in 1992. When we had that election, after the presidential, the MPP boycotted the parliamentary.
Very well.
So that then gave rise to the need to have a platform for building consensus. So IPAC was formed in 1994. And when the IPAC was formed, it was meant to help the EC to bring consensus and understanding among the parties. So through IPAC's intervention, a lot of reforms came into play. For example, those days we were using opaque ballot boxes. Okay. And through IPAC's intervention, we now started using transparent ballot boxes. Okay. We were using thumbprint ID cards. Then we changed to photo ID cards. The register then was registers that were typed on sheets. Then subsequently we had a proper register. Then we also, this whole idea of having results declared at the polling stations, results counted at the polling station, all these innovations came out of IPAC. So even though the Constitution gives the Electoral Commission independence and autonomy, by wisdom and practical, administrative procedures, it became necessary to have IPAC so that because issues of election are very, very sensitive and could threaten the stability and peace of a country, when you have the stakeholders engage in the process, then it makes things more transparent and people tend to then accept the results of any such election. So through that process, a lot of reforms came. Then in 2012, the MPP, through the Ankrah Institute, asked for biometric register, e-voting, and what do you call it? Verification. Okay. So through a long process, and indeed before then, Dr. Afriyie had called for electoral reforms, and it was done in a very transparent manner. They asked the various political parties. No, this was after, but before the biometric voters register. This is the report on the pilot biometric voter registration 2012. Very well. So what happens is that before any such process, there are two committees at IPAC, the legal committee and then a technical committee. The legal committee was represented by Mr. Hotnews of the NDC and then the MPP. I think it was the Deputy Minister of Local Government now. And then the technical committee, we had Dr. Kweno, and they also had Mr. Makmenu. Okay. And so they looked at all the processes, even in terms of choice of equipment, the type of equipment, the bidding process, the cost. The parties were actively involved in this process. So there was transparency, the specifications, what kind of equipment, what they should do, and all that. The parties were intimately involved. Then subsequently, when the equipment came, it was tested. The equipment, all the procurement processes were done in 2011. Then the equipment came early 2012. The pilot was done, and this is the report. So that is the history of the biometric register. And now the biometric register was also meant to be the register of all registers. Why? Because when they capture your biometric features, it stays so forever. So this argument about the register is bloated and there were children under 18 on the register, it doesn't make sense. Because let's even assume that at the time of registration, children of 10 years were able to register. By 2020, those children have reached the age of 18. So the biometric register has a way of self-cleansing, has a self-cleansing mechanism. And they said some people were dead. If somebody dies, nobody can use his fingerprint to go and vote because you have to be verified. And the machine will reject you if you are not the person you claim to be. And then inbuilt in it was a system where there will no longer be the need to be doing registers every 4 years, every 10 years, or whatever. But the system was designed that once a month on a Friday, all the parties would bring their agents, and then those who hitherto could not register during the normal registration period or had 10-18 would then go and register. So to get to a point where we now don't have to have a period of registration with all its attendance, chaos, confusion, and misunderstanding. So this is how the system was designed. And as I said, the system, it was a system that you can't use anybody's tampering to go and vote. Then this EC came, and their attitude and posturing, if you listen to their
transfers. What has been the EC's attitude and posturing?
Well, we are autonomous. We are not bound by IPAC decisions, and we will take the decisions. And to the extent that even Bosman Asari said
is that... Is IPAC decisions binding on the Electoral Commission?
I've given you the history.
Fantastic. But is it binding on the Electoral Commission? Is it at all costs that decisions at IPAC, the Electoral Commission would have to work with?
Do you have management meetings here?
Very well.
Do you own the station?
Not at all.
Are you a shareholder?
Not at all.
So why do you go for management meetings? Why don't you let the shareholder or the owner just do whatever he wants? It is common sense.
But the owner decides to take my suggestion.
This is administration, right? Because you are a stakeholder. Okay, the work you do impinges on the image of the station. So any reasonable. This is basic, class 1. You don't even need to debate this. You need to involve your stakeholders. And I've given you the history. At the time that the EC were doing the transparent ballot boxes, at the time that we're doing the photo ID card, at the time that we're doing, the decision was taken to count ballots at the polling station and declare same. Was the EC not independent? The EC was independent. But common sense and convention will tell you that when you involve stakeholders in such sensitive matters, it creates a better atmosphere. So they said, well, they will do whatever they want to do, and they won't listen to anybody. Bosman Asari said that the NDC is a threat to Ghana's democracy. You go to meetings, they go and bring a policeman, well-built, wearing, all kinds of things, and bulletproof and dark glasses. So absurd and ridiculous. We hear the AC's chairperson's house is surrounded by armor cars, while Dr. Afriyie walks around and sits at chop bars. Nobody is going to kill or harm any person. So the whole posturing and attitude has been negative. So then comes the whole, how this whole voters, new voters register was introduced. So we went for an IPAC meeting, and at that IPAC meeting, the agenda was to look at the audit reports of political parties, to look at the offices, inspection of office of political parties, and a third other item. After a 3.5-hour meeting, we closed. I recall in that meeting, somebody asked that, so what is the status of the BVRs or BVDs of the EC? And Madam Jane Mensah responding said, they intend to get new equipment. This was like a minute or two question and answer in the entire 3.5-hour deliberation. We closed the meeting 9 p.m. The EC issues a statement, and in that statement, they said that all parties have agreed. In fact, the preamble to that press statement was that after exhaustive and extensive deliberations, the various stakeholders had agreed that we should have a biometric register, among other things. So we said we didn't discuss biometric register. If we talk about new biometric register, it's a major issue. In previous times, it didn't take just one meeting. It took workshops, meetings, committees, stakeholders engagement, a whole long process before we arrived at it. So on what basis then would you say you want a new biometric register? In any case, that was the same register that was used in 2012, used in 2016, used in the demarcation of regions, used in the district level elections. So On what basis would you use? And you used it recently for the limited registration exercise, which you claim was very successful. Parliament had approved over $40 million.
But the same Electoral Commission is telling you that the machines are obsolete. They're telling you that we have a bloated register. They don't have access to a certain barcode. The need for us to compile a new voters register. So
when you as reasonable and intelligent people, when somebody says something, you don't just accept it. You understand me? You need to question it. Does it make sense?
Is there
it's not about NDC. It's not about NDC. It's about the same EC that use the register. 2012. Don't forget, the EC is an institutional. It's not about personalities. And then this new EC used it for demarcation of regions, used it for district assembly elections, where they elected 6,600 assemblymen and over 30,000 local councillors. Okay, that's the most difficult election. And they themselves in their commentary said the equipment is in good shape and the elections were very successful. Subsequently, they used the same machines to do a limited registration exercise in 2019. And then they spent $40 million to upgrade those equipment. And consistently, we have them saying that the equipment is in good shape. So if the same person wakes up tomorrow and comes to tell you that the equipment is good, so you will just accept it like a sheep? No. You need to question. And when you question them, their answers are not convincing. On one hand, they said, you yourself said, well, the equipment was bloated. The register is bloated. We've proven to you that it doesn't make sense. Because assuming, without admitting, that at the time of doing this biometric, as I said, somebody was 10 years old. With the process of time, somebody said, well, 11 years old, 12 years, up to the age of 17. Those people have grown. So they cannot go and re-register. The equipment is such that when you try it the second time, you will be caught.
But in other ways too, we had Abu Ramadan case, versus the Electoral Commission, where it was established that some persons registered with health insurance cards, they must be removed from the register.
Yes.
Currently, we had one, Kesley Hayford, who says that one economist, a renowned one for that matter, who says that, well, he registered with health insurance card, yet his name is still in the register. We may have similar persons with such situations, which doesn't make the register credible, as ruled by the court. And so, isn't it reasonable that the EC is calling for a compilation of new voters register where we have a credible register going into the 2020 elections?
So are you aware that after that court's directive that they should remove the names, the EC actually removed names of 56,000 people? Are you aware of that?
How come we are having cases?
No, you need to answer. Are you aware? You have the question. So the EC has the capacity to identify the names of people and remove them. You have a Kesley Hayford, a pro-MPP person whose claim you cannot verify, saying that he registered. So they should go and remove the names. The EC has the capacity to remove the names. So the implication of what they're saying is that, first of all, do they know how many names there are that register with the NHI card? Do you know? Have they told you?
No.
That is why I say when the claims are made, we shouldn't just accept it because EC says. We should subject those claims to serious scrutiny. So if they were able to identify 56,000 people and remove their names, they have data. They will know who registered with which equipment, and they should be able to remove them. So you're saying that because you suspect, you have not given any reasonable grounds, you have not given us any data, you suspect that there could be some people that have NHI cards on the register. You suspect, you don't have any basis. Therefore, you are creating a situation where you want to disenfranchise millions of people. Does it make sense?
How is the EC going to disenfranchise people?
Okay, good. So, we are getting to the meat of the matter.
Fantastic.
This is the Constitution. Everything that we do must be based on the Constitution. So, what is the mandate of the Electoral Commission? Right. So, the Electoral Commission, Article 42 and 45, states the purpose of the Electoral Commission: representation of the people, right to vote. 42 says every citizen of Ghana of 18 years of age or above and of sound mind has the right to vote. it is a right. You have a right. Once you are a citizen of Ghana, you have the right. Nobody can deny you that right. Now listen. Then, and it's entitled to be registered. So you see the difference in the language.
Very well.
You have the right to vote. So you can decide not to exercise that right. Now when it comes to registration, it says entitled.
Very well.
So the right is there. You can choose to exercise it. But when it comes to registration, it is mandatory. You are entitled.
Okay.
So it is the responsibility of the EC to ensure that every Ghanaian citizen who is entitled to register is given the opportunity, including those they think have NHIS. Do you understand me? So if assuming that even somebody has NHIS, the court says remove the name, but you don't let the person, you don't create opportunity for the person not to register.
You re-register the person.
Exactly. Okay. Good. So because it is an entitlement, you don't do anything that would deprive people who otherwise would have been on the register the inability to register subsequently. Good. Now the EC is saying that they now want to use the Ghana card and the passport as the main breeder documents. Now let's go back to what the EC itself said when this debate was raging all over the country, that we had reason to suspect that there was something fishy going on. The EC said no, and we have recordings to show. The EC said on countless occasions, officials, that they were not going to rely on the NHI card, on the Ghana card. I don't know if you've seen any of those videos.
I saw that. I listened to them say so.
Okay, so then somebody may say, well, maybe when they said it, they were not in a proper state of mind.
The EC is entitled, of course, to changing of minds, of their mindset. Of course, if they've decided on something some time ago, and today they are telling you that, well, we have said it, but we want to change our minds and go by this because we think that that's the way. I mean, what's wrong with it?
I don't want to respond to you because this is the EC's document. Okay. And EC presentation. And then they asked themselves a question. They said, is the EC discarding all previous data? You've seen the EC? They asked themselves,
yes.
And then they answered that question for themselves. They said, no, with 3 exclamation marks.
I've seen it.
You've seen that? So if an institution like the EC, there is an issue, it's generated a lot of public interest. In their defense, they go out in the public and this matter comes up and they state clearly, no. Not just a simple no, but with 3 exclamation marks. What does it mean? What does it mean?
Well, it's a big no.
It means under no circumstances. Absolutely. That means that they've thought through it and they realize that that will not happen, cannot happen. Then this is the EC, not any kid on the street who, as you are trying to say, can change their mind at will without reason. Because if you're going to change your mind, there must be a reasonable basis.
Come with reasons.
Exactly. You don't just change your mind in a whimsical way, particularly when on numerous occasions you state that clearly, and this is your document. You go to court, an accusation is made against you. Your defense is this. Based on that, you are acquitted. And I can say that a lot of the civil society organizations or religious bodies, I've had several of them speaking to me. They said, well, we've listened to your case, you have a case. But when we listen to the EC, they're saying if you have the old card and you bring it, we'll just go through the process.
I've listened to that argument.
Exactly. So I believe that this was a turning point, a game changer for many people. That if it's just a matter of bringing your old card and just taking pictures, why not? And we kept on saying, no, there is more to it. But hey, this is the EC on record.
Very well.
Then they said, to be registered onto the new register, existing voters need to only present their existing voters' ID card to the registration officer. So this is clear, unambiguous. This is not a matter like you're going to chase a girl, you like her, you don't like her. This is a major matter. It's akin to saying that the constitution can be written and tomorrow any idiot gets up and says, I've changed the constitution. It's a serious matter. You can't just change your mind on such major issues that have a bearing on the democracy and the stability. The foundation of every democracy and the stability of every elections depends on the register. You see, so this business of they can change their mind anywhere, it doesn't fly anywhere.
Okay.
Right.
So that's very well
so this is the issue. Then they now send a CI to Parliament. Again, when they were sending the CI, usually what happens is that when you're sending a CI to Parliament, it comes to the legal committee of the IPAC. And then we would help ship it, and then it will go to the subsidiary legislation committee of Parliament, pre-laying, before it's laid. They took the first CI, there was a mistake with it, it was withdrawn. They took the second CI, because there was no input from at least the NDC, it was withdrawn. Then the third CI...
How the NDC wasn't part of the said IPAC meeting that they decided that they were going to present or submit the said CI to Parliament for an amendment?
That is part of the lies that shows that there's collusion between the MPP and the EC. Because it was John Bodu who, as an afterthought, came out and said, when they went to that IPAC meeting, the NDC boycotted that IPAC meeting, and we were not there. We were not there. That is why they took the CI, and they went through it, and we were not there. It's the most absurd and most... Okay, I won't use that word. It's the most absurd thing anybody could say. Because the CI was made on the 17th of March. The meeting, so-called meeting, was the 25th. How do you reconcile these two? And again, yesterday, they hurriedly went and did some minutes. And you know, sometimes once people are lying and they are in a hurry, they don't think deeply. First of all, you did 2 meetings, right? 2 separate meetings. And yet they were able to produce 1 minute. Does that make sense to you?
It doesn't.
Two separate meetings, and in those minutes they claim, and even that those minutes is so curious. They said that the EC reported to IPAC that they had sent the CI to Parliament. So it was not a question of, we've asked several times at IPAC at the beginning that, won't you activate the legal and technical committee? Joe Mensah said it's not necessary. So that matter is a complete lie, and we don't even want to have to waste our time on it. So
that's fine.
So the point I'm making is that then they took the CI to Parliament. The third time, it didn't go to the subsidiary legislation committee. It went through an emergency amendment to the order paper at 8 p.m. and it was laid by Osei Chairman Sambos.
Very well.
Then in that CI, they had removed the driver's license, and they had removed the voter's ID card, the current voter's ID card, as requirements. So who is deceiving Ghanaians? After stating clearly and making a case strongly that, you're going to use the voter's ID card, and all your interviews, all your documents that you sent to the diplomatic community, the diplomats are listening. It's a deceptive issue.
Very well.
Okay? Now, what makes it even more frightening is that then you say, okay, you're going to use the Ghana card and the passports. How many people have a passport? We went to check. About 2 million Ghanaians have a passport. Out of those 2 million, but a substantial proportion of them are children, up to those below the age of 18. And the majority of the people who have Ghanaian passports are even abroad. So out of that 2 million, you probably have like 1 million left here. I don't know where you come from. But the villages I come from, I can't count 2 people who have passports. In any case, why do you need a passport if you're not going to travel outside the country? So that creates a restriction. Now let's come to the NI card. And when the NI started their registration, we observed a lot of discrepancies in many of the regions. I was personally sent by my party to go to the Volta region. I spent 4 days touring from south to the central part of Volta. There were delays, there were power outages, no internet, so people would go to the centers 3 days. It was happening even in Ankrah. In the north, in Appiah, for instance, there were places that for 3 days when the exercise started, nothing was happening. We raised complaints, we did press conferences, we raised issues, we said, don't worry. At a point, Dr. Tefua himself came and said that, oh, this NIA card will not be used for elections. I don't know if you've seen that video.
Of course.
Okay. And then he added that the cards are just something that they're doing now, and subsequently there's going to be a mop-up. And after the mop-up, they'll set up centers in all the districts, and people can go and register. They said all these things. Now the EC says it is the NIA cards that they're going to use. So let's look at the NIA cards. So we went to check. In all the situations, all the regions, if you check the percentage, and it's a lot, but let me just start from Western region. So we looked at the population of people, because NIA registered people from 15 years up to 18. So we want to look at those who are estimated 18 years and above, who are eligible to register. Those who were registered by the NIA, and those who've been given cards, and those who have not been given cards.
Very well.
Okay. Now, you start from Western region. 1,591,657 people were registered. Out of that number, 666,281 have been given their cards. You have 925,376 that do not have their cards. That constitutes 58.14%. You have Savannah, 342,685. And out of that, 118,072 have been given their cards, leaving a deficit of 224,613 who do not have their cards, which is 65.59%. You come to Northern region, you have 981,947, 328,115 have been issued cards, 655,833 have been given their cards. You have 66.59% who do not have their cards. Then you come to Bono, or let's say Bono East. You have 645,681 registered. 70,207 have been given their cards. 575,473 do not have their cards. So that makes it 89.13%. You have Bono, 665,679. You have 67,165, making a total of 598,514, and you have 89.91% not having their cards. You come to Ahafo, you have 349,474 with registered, 27,166 have received their cards, 322,308 have not received their cards. So you have 92.23%. You come to Upper East, you have 708,584, and 45,076 have received their cards. 663,508 do not have their cards. That represents 93.64%. Then you come to Upper West, you have 472,391%. 24,427 do not have received their cards. 447,964 do not have their card. That is 94.83%. So overall, you have a total of estimated population of 17,251,000. They've given out cards to 6,485,074. There's a deficit of 10,766,500. That is if they are to catch up with the number of people estimated to be on the current register. So that leaves a deficit of 10 million. And so 62.41% of the population do not have cards. Now, I've heard them say something very funny, which to the ordinary person, they said somebody can guarantee.
I was just about to come to that.
Yes, you know the problem.
But in the absence of the NIA card and then the passport, you can get 2 people to guarantee for you, and 1 person can guarantee for as many as 10 people.
It's the most absurd.
Why do you think it's absurd?
Because they think we are all ignorant. You see, they think that we are all daft. So then when they play those kinds of tricks, people will not see through. There are international conventions that govern registration globally. So Ghana cannot isolate itself from the international
From those conventions?
Yes, the international protocols. By those international conventions and protocols, when you're going to register, the document that you use as your source document is called a breeder document.
Yeah.
That document must be accessible to 95% of the population. It's just common sense, so that it will be easy for majority of the people to be able to register.
Okay.
But the purpose of registration is to create opportunity. And in this case, you're looking at citizenship.
Yeah.
So you must make it easy for people to be able to have access to the breeder document to be able to register. That is why the voters ID card, which over 17 million people have, would have been the easiest for anybody to have, to be able to
But they
register.
said that one is not credible enough for one to use it.
And I've told you that that so-called credibility is total nonsense. Anybody who believes that this is buffoonery of the highest order. Sorry, it's total, absolute nonsense.
Because I listened to Dr.
Does it make sense to you?
Station, and he said that, look, we need a credible register.
You see, I keep telling you that you are a journalist of repute. Don't regurgitate what an officer says without subjecting it to scrutiny.
I can do that. I have done that. But I need to put before you what the officials or
but I've explained to you, and I've told you that all the reasons they've given, they've been shifting the goalposts.
Okay.
The register is bloated. We've proved that it's not bloated. The register, they're just not making any sense.
Okay.
Okay. So let's leave that bogus argument.
Okay.
The point I'm making is that the breeder document must be accessible to majority of the people.
Okay.
You have a situation where 62.41% of the population will not have access to that document. So what is going to happen? The verification or somebody to guarantee for you is supposed to be the exception rather than the norm. In this situation, by virtue of you using only the Ghana card and the passport, it is that exception is rather going to become the rule.
Okay.
So you have majority of people, and there are towns and villages in this country that people do not have passports, that people do not have NIA cards. Are you aware of that?
Very, very much aware.
Many. So those people who guarantee for them. In any case, is it not absurd that, for example, somebody like you, I don't know your age, but probably under 40, and you have to go to your grandmother or your grandfather or uncle and go and prove that he's a Ghanaian? Does it make sense? Does it not insult our cultural sensibilities? But more importantly, that procedure is meant to be an exception rather than a rule. And then, by virtue of the fact that when you go through that process, then that person, how do you guarantee for somebody? Do you guarantee verbally? There's a form.
Yes, of course.
Okay, so how can you be sure that guarantee forms, if you go to the registration point and they say guarantee forms are finished, what do you do? Just as it happened with the NIA. What then happens? Since there's a game going on, how do you determine that forms will be available? More importantly, do you know that by virtue of the fact that somebody has to guarantee, and it's not verbal guarantee, it has to be a process of form filling, that alone would delay the process. So we're going to have a situation where many people in these regions that I've mentioned, Upper West, Upper East, Ahafo, Bono East, Northeast, Northern region, Savannah, etc., which have over 60, 65%, 66%, 67%, 68%, 89%, 89%, 92%, 93%, 94% of the people have to go through a laborious and cumbersome process that will frustrate them, and a lot of them will not be able to register.
Very well.
Okay? Beyond that, like I've told you, the physical process. I haven't even come to COVID-19, and I'll come to that.
We'll definitely come to that. But let me ask you this quickly. Mr. Ankrah, you have actually come out with some fantastic ideas. You are really asking very critical questions that the EC should have considered. Don't you think that, well, on the 25th of March, I guess, you boycotted an IPAC meeting just yesterday. You have boycotted one as a party. Don't you think that these are the more reasons why you should be part of these IPAC meetings to, of course, suggest this to the Electoral Commission, advise the Electoral Commission on some of these things, on some of these great ideas, and see if they were going to take it into consideration?
Have you read the EC's release very well? What did they say? They said the EC informed IPAC We don't go to IPAC to go and listen to the EC's information. I've already told you about the posturing of the
Electoral Commission
consistently from the beginning. Okay, and we've been in meetings where we suggested, look, let me give you, when we're going to do, so after that deceptive press release, then they now called an emergency meeting. Okay. And when we went for that emergency meeting, they said they were going to discuss the program for the year. When we went, then they said biometric register. I said, but you can't invite us for an emergency meeting and be talking about biometric register because we need to prepare and bring our IT persons. So we almost walked out, and they prevailed upon us, and we waited, and then they said, okay, they will call a subsequent meeting where we will discuss the biometrics. So that subsequent meeting was called, and they did their presentation. Afterwards, our IT persons and that of the PNC also did a presentation where we raised issues about this whole process. One of their major planks of the argument was that, at the time of the EC's Charlotte Osei, there was a document that stated that the current equipment needed to be changed. So we said, can we have that document? All the parties, NDC, MPP, all the parties said, can we have that document? They said yes. They also stated that the cost of buying a new equipment, I'm sure you heard those arguments, was lower than the cost of replacements. So we said, give us that document. We need that document. We left that meeting. We came back. We wrote a letter asking them to give us those documents. As I speak to you today, they've not given us those documents. We sent a reminder. They did not. Subsequently, they invited us again to a meeting at Coconut Grove. And when we went to Coconut Grove, they had brought 4 vendors and said we should help them to choose the vendors. So we asked them, what is the basis for these vendors that you're choosing? You said you had a document. You have not finished up with that document. So how can we be involved in this process? It's a fraudulent process. So we walked out. So you must understand the genesis of this workout.
Why you are not at walking out?
They are not ready to be transparent. The whole process is opaque, and this is a document, cost of elections in Ghana, an analysis by Imani, and you'll be amazed at, outright lies, blatant lies that the EC has told Ghanaians, that the equipment was going to cost less fresh equipment than if it is
of course, we've heard those arguments.
And which are all false, which there's documentary evidence, which unfortunately some, I'm not saying you, journalism is messed up today. People don't do research. People just regurgitate whatever they are saying.
Relevant questions.
No, I'm not saying you. I'm just talking generically.
But I've seen some journalists.
That's why I said some.
Fantastic.
I'm very careful. There are fantastic people. Some ask questions and the people haven't recovered for 1 year.
That's very true.
But some people today just regurgitate whatever. So they've not been transparent, they've not been truthful to us, they've not been truthful to Ghanaians. It's been a cacophony of lies consistently, and they've done terrible damage to the credibility of that institution. And so it makes it very difficult when you call IPAC meeting and it's just meant to inform. Now, I'll give this analogy. Just before I move on to another thing.
Very well.
It's like you have a Land Cruiser, and I believe you have a Land Cruiser. If you don't have one, you get one. So
amen.
So you're able to drive this Land Cruiser all the way around the country for 3 weeks. You come back to Accra. The Land Cruiser is okay. But it's just that there's a little bit of noise in it. You take it to the mechanic or the auto shop. The mechanic looks at it and he says, "Oh, come back, I'll give you a report." You come back, he says, "Oh, when we examine your vehicle, we think that you should get a new one." You say, "Why?" He said, "Oh, if the cost of repairing this your Land Cruiser will be more than getting a new one." He said, "Really?" He said, "Yes." So, okay, can I have a copy of that report? He said, "Okay, I'll get it to you." You go home, you write to him, reminding him that I need to have that information to be able to take a decision. He doesn't respond. A week after you are there, then he invites you to his workshop. When you go, there are 4 car vendors there, and those 4 car vendors, he's telling you that, "Oh, based on what I told you the last time, these are 4 car vendors. Let me help you to choose one vehicle." Even if you have Kokonte in your head, will you do that?
Not at all.
So it's absurd. Please, you see, I am not happy It's what time is it? By now, I should be reading and studying. I am not happy jumping from place to place, but we have to say this thing to save our democracy. This EC is gone bananas. That is the truth. What is happening is untenable, is unthinkable, is absurd. You cannot just understand. There's no rhyme or reason to what they're doing. And we cannot keep quiet. We cannot keep quiet. It is as if the EC is being controlled by forces. Because how can you do a document and state clearly and unambiguously, this is our position? Then the next time you change that position with no reason, and when you are asked, you say, well, you know, the matter is, it's ridiculous and absurd. And we are not going to allow it. We are not going to allow that to happen. People have suffered and paid the price for this democracy, and we will fight for it, whatever it will take.
Now, before I ask you your question, because the EC says they'll proceed with the compilation of new voters register, but some Ghanaians are of the view that the NDC should have been concentrating on campaigning since elections is about some 7 months away from us. And they are saying that, look, Ghanaians are on December 7th are not going to be looking at compilation of a new voters register, but rather will be looking at which party would be better to be voted for, or would be better than the ruling party as it stands now. And the NDC could be an alternative, could be a party they will consider. And so you should have actually forgotten about the compilation of new voters register that the EC is bent on of course doing, and then you rather focus on campaigning. How would you react to that? Because people are, of course, also saying such, you know, are coming up with such issues.
Thank you for the opportunity for me to explain to those few people who are saying that, because majority of Ghanaians are very discerning. They know what game is going on, and they understand our position. Now, when we talk about stealing or rigging an election, it's not just on election day that you go and vote and then your vote is counted and is declared. I think that's an oversimplification or a misunderstanding of what an election is. The foundation of every election, the credibility of every election depends on the credibility of the voters' register. So if you have a situation where every party has its strongholds, so if you have a situation where at the time of registration, and this has been proven historically. You look at Cote d'Ivoire. What is it that led to the crisis in Cote d'Ivoire? What led to the crisis in Cote d'Ivoire is that at a particular point, one president said that some people were from the northern part of the country. During the registration, they put in place measures to prevent them from registering. And so he won that election, and it resulted, subsequently, the other person also came and also prevented the other people. And that is what led to the chaos in Cote d'Ivoire. So there is historical antecedent to show that if you sit down and you allow the Electoral Commission to conspire with any party or ruling government, and they create a situation where people in your strongholds are not able to register, and they don't have their names on the electoral roll, but people in the strongholds of the other party are able to register, you would have been robbed of the election even before the first vote is cast. So no matter how good your policies are, no matter how tired people are with the incumbent, your people don't have a vote. Do you understand me? So that is what we are seeing. For example, when the NIA was registering people, it took an average of 1,500 equipment to all the regions. When it got to Ashanti region, by the time they got to Ashanti region, they had ordered $40 million worth of equipment. And they took almost 5,000 equipment to Ashanti region, gave them more days, and even extended the days after Christmas. The same thing happened in the eastern region until COVID came. They were going to continue the registration. And if you look at the numbers so far, if you look at the people who voted in 2016 as compared to the numbers that have been registered by the NIA, with the exception of Ashanti and Volta because of the two Volta, OT, Volta and OT. You see, they were forced to take the same equipment to Volta and the same number of equipment to OT region. So by default, the numbers went up a little. But in Ashanti, you see that of all the regions, they registered many more people than those who actually voted in 2016. So you see, if your people's name are not on the roll, they cannot vote for you.
That's true.
And that is why this struggle is important. And it's not just about NDC. Let's make that point clear. Democracy, for democracy to thrive, there must be a level playing field. the elections must be free and fair. The umpire or referee must be unbiased.
So you think that the AC is not really providing the level playing field?
I don't think, I don't need to, I know. It's, the evidence is overwhelming, abundantly overwhelming. And it's not only the NDC speaking. In Ghana, when you talk about stakeholders, you also have civil society. The CDD, IDEG, Cordeo. These are Imani, ASEPA. These are institutions that over the years, and you cannot for once tell me that these institutions are NDC people. No, you can check the record. But they are independent think tanks and institutions that have always fought for the sustenance and consolidation of our democracy. So if they are raising alarm that what the EC is doing is endangering our democracy, we need to pay attention. It's not about winning. Of course, we know that if there's any genuine election today, we'll win. But that is beside the point. Let's have a free and fair election. If you win, you win. If you lose, you lose. We've lost election. We are not dead. We are here. So what's the big deal? The same register that was used to elect John Mahama in 2012, same register was used to elect Akufo-Addo in 2016. Somebody said the register is contaminated, as the EC have been saying. It's contaminated. Then the president and his people are also contaminated. Is that a fair thing to say?
Because so one election with a contaminated register.
So should they step down? So it's an absurd, very, very absurd, argument that they shouldn't even be canvassing. Now,
the Electoral Commission has said that by June ending, they will start with the registration. Would the NDC partake in that?
My brother, listen and listen very carefully.
Very well, I'm listening.
What is June ending? Who has a calendar here?
Well, I mean, the calendar on the phones.
Where is June ending on your calendar? Is there any date called June ending?
Not at all.
And where is end of July? Is there any date called end of July?
Not at all.
So tell me, in all sincerity, and our viewers, we are end of May. What's today's date? 20-something?
Today's 28th.
28th of May.
Yeah.
Okay? As at now, we don't have a clear timetable of the EC.
Okay.
Telling us in specific terms, on this date in June, we will start. On that date in July, we will start. Is it proper? Has this ever happened before? That we are getting to June, you say June ended. Is it 23rd, 24th, 25th, 26th, 27th, 28th, 29th, 30th? What is this? So if I tell you that the Electoral Commission has run into absurdity, they've lost their mind. I am not insulting them. I am not being interested. There is a problem. We don't want to admit it, but we are heading towards the cliff. There's a disaster coming. We don't have a timetable. The closest we have to a timetable, an indication of a timetable, is when the EC's Director of Electoral Services did a conference, a video conference with ECOWAS.
Okay.
And in that video conference, he gave out some kind of timetable. And when we saw that timetable, we were frightened. First of all, don't forget that previously, initially, they said they were going to do the register from April 18th.
Yeah.
If you recall. Good.
It has been halted because of COVID-19.
No, that's not true. that is.
But that's what they told us.
That is a convenient excuse. That is not. You see, that's why I keep saying that. Don't just take them at their word. You know, subject it to scrutiny.
And
you will see that is all deception. So they told us April 18th. Sorry, and that even by that April 18th, if they are started, they would have completed the registration. In the register would have been ready in November. So per that program, and I wish that I could see that document, they stated when the Director of Electoral Services spoke to the ECOWAS people, they gave them some timetable, and by that timetable, they said they were going to do the registration, and then subsequently they were going to do an exhibition. But what we found very curious is that in that document, they said that, I think I'll still find it here, because it's important that I refer to.
Very well. Our time is almost up, so...
Documentary proof. It's important that I do this.
Very well,
this is at the heart, and that's why I'm going to prove to you that they cannot do the register.
All right.
The new register. It won't come on.
All right. Let me plead with my director to give me a few time at least to be able to wrap up.
It's important.
Yeah, it's very important.
The new register that they are proposing is a logistical and practical impossibility, and I'm going to show you why.
Okay.
It's an absurdity, and all Ghanaians must not allow this EC to lead us into the ditch.
Yeah.
Okay? It's a complete absurdity. Now, even that document that I showed you, in the document where they ask themselves whether they are going to do the use the ID card, they give some project timelines. Okay. See, paper no lie. You can project, you can put it here.
Okay. Kindly zoom in, and then the viewers see it very
project timelines. Okay, have you seen the project timelines? Is it coming? And then it gives some dates. Okay, so let me run you through the dates. Okay, this is what they presented.
Very well.
They said voters registration April 18th to May 30th. It's passed. And then duplication of voters list June 1st to June. Even with this one, there were specific dates. All right, and they are behind shadow. Data processing, splitting of police stations, extraction of data, July 1st to 15th. Now they said end of July. Exhibition of provisional register September 15th to 29th. Objection, adjudication and correction October 1st to 9th. Authentication of voters register by officers October 12th to October 15th. And then transfers, etc., 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 etc. So with this timetable, and you see, even with this timetable,
can you zoom in? Can you zoom in? Of
even
course,
with this,
I want to capture the timetable.
Okay. Even with this timetable, there are serious problems. Okay. Because per this timetable, it meant that the register was not going to be ready at the time that candidates were going to file their nominations. And candidates can only file their nominations when they themselves are properly registered.
Very well.
And those who are going to endorse their forms must also be properly registered. Now, if you're going to jettison the current register and do a totally new one, at the time of registration, that register, the card you hold, it is not a guarantee. Does not mean that you are a properly registered person. If you talk about it, that's why there's a provisional register and a final register. A provisional register legally is not a final register, but you need the final register before an election, before somebody can endorse your form, before somebody can guarantee. Okay? So it's an absurdity. So with this proposal, what they're saying is that candidates will file their nomination at the time that the register is not ready. That also links to the question of people guaranteeing for you immediately your card is done. Because at the time that somebody gets, so you go and guarantee for somebody because you just got your card. The fact that you have your card does not mean that your name is on the register properly so in legal terms. What it means is that the register has to go through a process of exhibition, adjudication, etc., before it's endorsed as a final register, before it becomes a proper register, so-called. So assuming that you go and guarantee for 10 people, and at the end of the day, somebody challenges you, and it comes out that you were not properly registered, you were not a Ghanaian, what then happens to all those guarantees? That is why in the previous, in the NIO registration, and even in the limited registration, if you want somebody to come and guarantee for you, you have to use the current card. You don't use a card that has been issued immediately. So even there are serious legal issues. So whichever way you look at it, it's an absurdity. Now, my final point. They said they're going to practice social distancing.
Of course.
And go through all those protocols.
Compulsory mask wearing. I mean,
are they going to buy the masks
are going to be provided
for citizens?
And all of that.
So, and they said 25 people per center.
Very well.
So every day, are they going to go to people's houses and say, when in the morning 25 people of you will come, and then at 1 o'clock 25 come, 2 o'clock 25 come? No, people will come in their numbers. They say they're going to cluster 5 polling stations per cluster. So naturally, people will come and gather. It is within their perimeter that they can observe that social distancing on 25. Now, the fact that there is even pressure that they cannot do things in a normal way. Don't forget that people use their fingertips to go and take their biometrics. After somebody uses fingertips to take biometrics, what is going to happen? You need to sanitize the machine. Anybody who uses a phone, who uses touch, and I use touch for this phone, if there is even sweat on your thumb, it doesn't work. So when you keep, so it means they probably have to sanitize. If they don't, then mind you, COVID-19 is going to multiply.
Very well.
Okay? If they sanitize, at the point the machine will become desensitized. So what is going to happen is that the machine will break down, there will be delays. Mind you, by the process of 25 people at a time, that delays the process. And if you add to it the absurdity of one person guaranteeing for
about 10 people and all of that.
That cannot be done with social distancing. When somebody is guaranteeing for you, what happens? You can't be here and the person
not
is
at
there.
all.
My
you have
name.
to be close.
So you are briefing into the person. Okay? And that also delays the process. So first day, maybe 200 people come to the station. By virtue of all these complex processes, only 70 people register. So backlog of 130. The second day, 300, 400 people come. They register maybe 120, backlog. By the third day, there will be confusion. So when we are saying that if they try to do this, they will fail, there will be confusion. It's not because somebody wants to go and cause confusion. So they are inviting Bernard Mona to come and do what? He is warning between the person who is saying there is danger ahead and giving a warning. We are warning because we don't want that to happen. And the one who is pursuing the path that will lead to danger, who is more dangerous?
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Elvis Afriyie. But finally, should the EC kickstart by the ending they are talking about, which you're not so sure, what would the National Democratic Congress
I've told you, I've demonstrated to you that there will be confusion. It's simple. You do the arithmetic. If you want to register 17 million people, in what? Initially they said 42 days. Now they've reduced it to 33 days or 35 days. Will there not be confusion? Is it not easier to do a limited registration of less than 1 million people and just include them onto the new rule? It's a recipe for disaster. Let reason prevail.
Well, the Electoral Commission, this is a message to you, let reason prevail, because this is a recipe for disaster, according to the Director of Elections for the National
And not only us, all the other civil society, credible civil society organizations, CDD, IDEG, everybody is saying the same thing. We cannot all be wrong.
Of course. Well, I think that the EC must present with the good people of Ghana and listen to them. Well, we are just close to elections, and we can't go ahead with and
it's against the ECOWAS protocols. You don't introduce a new system 6 months to election. They say they're going to do pilot. When? You haven't even gotten the equipment to come and test them and know any deficiencies. I mean, this is really absurd.
Well, let's see how it goes, because the Electoral Commission says ending of June to ending of July. Well, there's no date like ending of June to ending of July, but let's see if they'll come up with a date. But we're pleading with the Electoral Commission for peace to prevail. They have said that we have a credible register. He attained 99.9% success in a certain elections. Why do we have to change it? If it's not broken, why fix it? Well, then we're pleading on the Electoral Commission to make sure that peace prevail in the 2020 election. This is what time will allow us on the show. Make a time with us same time tomorrow. My name is Justice Appiah, and the show has been Hot News. Goodbye.